Attention gamers, previously on my 12-step program to find joy again through video games by taking breaks from being told to buy nooses on Amazon from League players to make the best hardcore WoW documentary series in the Eastern Kingdoms, I got in a naked slap battle with a dagger douche which sparked a historically large gang war. I became the biggest hitman in Westfall, killing every last red bandana little bitch until one finally showed me where I could find their leader. I teamed up with my first guildie for a covert group operation to enter the dead mines and take down the leader of their cute little book club, which was a great success.
I hope Howard stays. I wonder if he still has Howard.
Fangs on the map. Turns out our triumph in the dead mines was followed by some dark times for the guild.
Yo, Corey!
Some of us were finding out the hard way that they aren't the only thing who can summon slaves to do their slaughtering. Others were learning that if something casts a single spell for 12 seconds, it's probably not gonna feel nice when it comes out. Young Jeffy learned that Horde city guards will attack you from bumfuck Egypt, and then others who had add-ons making their mini-map look dank and their action bars look like a lost and found table seemingly forgot to make use of the most important add-on, their eyeballs, and I think the realities of hardcore WoW was taking its toll on the well-being of the guild.
Hi mizkif.
This resulted in an emergency meeting where we all got called into the principal's office to hear this.
How many people have died in the past day? Do you guys even give a f?
Howard was struggling as well. You see, after news got out that he attended the Van Cleef gangbang, let's just say he was absolutely drowning in pig puss, but these Westfall hogs clearly aren't tested, so he was having gonorrhea shits every few seconds like they were hiccups but with herpes. I was starting to learn more about how the WoW community behaves. For example, when someone has a tag on a quest mob you need, they will either A, ignore you because they are a Chinese bot,
right,
or B, total giga chad stop their kill in the middle of the fight. CC the Barney cosplaying Murloc while they remember how to invite other people to their little murder date so you can get credit, and I think these are the people who should be recognized. Anyways, our fearless guild leader decided to reward me for not dying by making my weapon look like a flaming hot Cheetos kebab, and even though as a hunter this effectively would do nothing for me, the style points had me treating every fight like I was recording flashy kills for a Halo 2 montage. I had some loose ends to tie up in the 50 Shades of Grey forest, starting with the genocide of these thugs who had a fetish
Why
for
is
saying
everything
weird
you
shit
touch
as you
green or
killed them.
gray?
But in reality I was there to apparently grow old and die wondering how the hell to do this quest I was on. I euthanized at least 2 baker dozen of those shitters. My mini-map looks like the grammar police had a group orgy on it. Looking into this bowl wasn't exactly helpful.
How hard I should get.
And these books were trying to grab a handful of dwarf dick every time I walked by. I decided to just move on an uneducated man and challenge myself to what my guide warned me was a quest that is too hard to solo, and I soon found out that's because it's almost impossible to not die of boredom watching this short King Joe Biden just walk around in circles trying to remember his own name for 20 minutes looking for some old pelvis bone only to remember he left it at his side hoe's house. I gave him the name of a dementia medicine and decided I had about enough of Dark Shore and onto a city named Astronar, emphasis on the ass.
Oh shit!
But I was here for one thing, and that was to help my homeboy cure his bitch of some crippling STD he gave her. The initial gamer fuel we tried didn't seem to do shit, so he had me go to a little swamp island to pick up a glowing Godzilla Tic Tac. I'm not sure why the horn dog thought this would work, but here is where I also learned this was a daughter-father relationship, which makes this whole situation a bit strange.
Wow, it's back,
but if he's
baby!
Gonna be loyal to one hoe in a town that is just crawling with local talent, I guess I can look past incest and go pick some sparkling pond pubes for us to try. That didn't do shit for the entitled hoe, so I was like, sorry Mr. White Moon, your weird quasi-illegal sexy stepdaughter kink you had going on is just gonna have to stay on pause, as I gave them the Dr. Disrespect proverbial firm handshake and peaced out of there. You see, I booked a carnival cruise back to the other continent instead, where I generously handed out some high-level hunter tips to a normie. I made a quick pit stop in Pearl Harbor because some drunk shit stain who survived the Titanic was in town telling his story, and I wanted to know if Rose's ass was as dank as it was in the movie, but all he would say was,
"I'll need a fresh drink if I'm to get a handle on this hangover and continue my tale."
And as someone who attended at least 1 year of college, I knew just how to fix that situation. It was around this time where I think I survived my first assassination attempt. Now I want to
shit.
note that if you ever see someone struggling out in the world because some giant terrifying pube bush of algae whose favorite game is apparently peekaboo wanted you to euthanize a bunch of ratchet rabbits, the best thing to do is run up there and give her some emotional support. Yes, you could help, but you know how the saying goes, buy a man a fish he eats for a day, let a rogue die from over pulling they roll a priest when they go again. But the whole point of this trip and the reason I had to leave my incest fetish homie so urgently was to visit this Make-A-Wish city that I stopped by in as Keanu Reeves last episode because Howard was starting to look a bit dated, like he was in dire need of the latest iOS update, so we agreed to me getting a hall pass if it meant me teaching him new tricks, and I knew exactly who I wanted to use it on.
Oh fuck, it's the big
I
one.
knew from using my toilet time by reading hardcore WoW forums that this particular pig doesn't fuck around, so I thoughtfully played it pretty well, dazing him and then putting the bacon over ice, to which he still came out and slapped me for half my health before eventually agreeing to be my bitch. I was starting to worry I would enjoy having such a powerful pig too much and that a tough breakup conversation was in store.
No, Howard.
Psych, I named this smelly bastard Lil Slave and tried everything in my power to get his ass killed, only for Blizzard's buggy ass code to make everything attack me instead. The second I got what I needed from him, I commanded him to run in the lake and drown himself. I reunited with Howard, held up on my end of the deal, and guiltily told him about my infidelity. I could see the look in his eyes, and even though I didn't agree, I knew this was something he had to do. Until some fucking good Samaritan decided to come and completely shit on Howard's glory.
Yo.
But we all know who would have won that fight, right guys? But Howard's revenge aside, it was a big day for us as we had to attend our first streamer guild meeting. I was excited to be a part of such an elite group until the meeting consisted of 3 hours of mind-numbing yelling, mainly coming from some guy named Russell, so I had to outplay the mechanic and then try to sneak out. But Howard's growing fame had me busted, and I wasn't going to deny him pets from this chick, so I went back and learned my lesson and never tried to sneak out of that meeting again.
A few moments later.
We might have to get out of here.
You know, I'm really upset about
We
my
might
whole
have to get out
pizza
of here.
party Friday thing.
I
Getting moved
don't
to Monday.
care,
But listen,
Sheer.
Wow, that is entirely unacceptable behavior of Chance, and I completely agree.
like, I'm having such a bad day. Like, I 4,000
Rab's
subs.
out
but,
here too.
You know, like,
Rab's vibing, dude.
But in my defense, it's because I heard Papa Soda say this.
And target dummies are required from now on.
So I spent the rest of the meeting leveling my engineering, and considering I started that ear bludgeoning experience where I had to apologize to my headphones afterwards, I came out of it with some dank ass shades. Plus engineering turned out to be the bee's knees, considering on deadly 4-packs after I nuked the little gray ball sack in the back, I can hit a fat AoE wombo combo with my man-made dynamite straight Hiroshima style. And since this is just a WoW Pro Tips channel full of info that Pussy Boy Ompy would never know, here's another one.
Fuck that
When
Pussy
you are
Boy
running
Ompy.
past a class who can give buffs, turning around to help them kill their mob will psychologically outplay them into giving you their buffs without even having to ask.
Yep,
It works
how to win
every
friends
time.
and
For
influence
example,
people.
I wanted this mage's intellect buff easy, goddamn peasy, just help him nuke that bird and voila, you have your buff. Anyways, it was time for me to lose my Duskwood virginity, which in this case meant having to turn the brightness on my screen just about to max settings so I could see more than 10 feet in front of me. Turns out Fitch's BFF is now a hermit who needs help wiping his own ass, not to mention Joe Biden's speechwriter lives out here.
I can't escape them. Monsters in Raven Hill, and oh, couldn't be. Only harmless jitters.
I quickly learned that while in the US you drive on the right side of the road, and in some EU countries you get the left side of the road, but in Duskwood you stay the fuck off the road entirely because of a big walking Godzilla sperm cell named Stitches, who kills more World of Warcraft gamers than the concept of loneliness itself. He is so deadly that one of the 4 hardcore servers was literally named after him, and you can always tell when he's around because you'll walk by some bitch and notice she stopped and turned around to see what happens to you, and that's when you should immediately know that the patrolling jizz rag is close. And while me and Howard might not be the heroes that Darkshire wants, tonight, we would be the heroes that they need.
Oh shit.
Attention gamers, previously on my hardcore WoW journey in OnlyFangs, I visited the land of the big sexy elves to help an old friend get his pimping business off the ground by trying to cure one of his lazy employees who was also his daughter. Howard and I had a brief breakup where I had a one-night stand with a burnt pig named Belly Grub before reuniting with my favorite black swine and letting him get his revenge. We had our first guild meeting, to which I still miss those brain cells I lost during that 3-hour Rage Yelp festival.
Yep.
I entered the deadly forest where a patrolling diabetic elite jizz stain kills dozens of half AFK players every day, and I decided that I would be the one to stand up to him. Psych, it was all for the clip. Take notes, lazy ho, that's how to be a proper hooker. And while I promise you'll see the epic battle with the Stitch bitch soon enough, I had some dangerous matters to attend to before. I first had to find the proverbial Vladimir Putin of the Red Ridge Canyons, euthanize the rabbit and bring its paw back to some bumbling muppet, and while this mage wanted help, I wanted my glory, so my plan was to path through the low-level simp bunnies in a way where his younger ass couldn't follow, but he arrived in time to ask me to make this assassination into a group project. I remember how I felt when that Chinese bot gave me the shaft on the beach, so I let my people-pleasing personality get in the way of glory, but I figured I would get an intellect buff out of it, only to stand there waiting to be blessed like I was speaking a different fucking language before eventually deeming it a lost cause, just confirming that the biggest noobs play mages in this game.
Outstanding!
Anyways, the leveling guide that my virgin ass paid money for was now telling me to skip the next quest if I lack confidence, and I'm thinking clearly Tommy Salami doesn't read the papers if he thinks that I think I'm a bitch, but I quickly learned it's because between the groups and the patrols you can quickly find yourself in a worse spot than a raw cucumber in an all-female prison, and this proved to be the case during one fight. When Howard chose to be negligent after I told him to come back to me, deciding to invite the entire neighborhood over to say hey, and this was going to be the end, I thought. My piece of shit pig was low. I had 2 on me with a caster coming, and there were logistical issues with my escape route, but that's when I remembered the wise words of Papa Soda.
Target dummies are required.
This bought me enough time to survive, and even though Howard wasn't as lucky, a sexy elf who identifies as a cat agreed to be my interim pet until the battle was over. Needless to say, I expected more out of Howard, but I also knew I was just as much to blame for being a bad trainer. This was where I lost my macro writing virginity, jotting down 2 genius lines of Elon Musk quality code that will one day save me and my raid from Howard's occasional attitude problems, and like a true software engineer I had to test my code.
Yeah, it's 80% Howard's fault.
Howard come backeth, I would say, to ensure it would work, and after 2 minutes of feeling like a code hacker genius, I was ready to fuck up Fanglore. This quest is supposed to be hard, but something about the adrenaline from my near-death experience and the confidence I got from writing code so good it could probably self-drive cars with a few more lines, this whole battle was easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. But me gracefully moonwalking through content was about to end, as my own survival was now going to rely on some random normies I hired off the streets to fight in the Red Ridge War against these trend-taking ogres, and considering our first pull was less organized than Asmongold's bedroom, I had my concerns. The mage was polymorphing targets with 3% health, and the warlock was playing his own solo adventure and fearing his mob into other orcs when he wasn't too busy disconnecting from the McDonald's Wi-Fi, so let's just say we weren't going to be pushing arena raiding with this motley crew. But as a League of Legends player, I'm used to dealing with inbred donkey teammates, and so I figured I would just show how equipped I am to properly lead in a way that Ompi could only dream of. Assassination numero uno was in the books, and my second task with these twerps was to loot orbs off of the jacked ones wearing dresses.
1, 2, 3.
But for a lack of better words, shit got real when we entered the castle.
Yeah, this is where
another group was trying to rescue Fiona Slay the Dragon too, and I decided to be chivalrous while arranging a safe plan to collude so that everyone would get their nut. This was great until we somehow nabbed the tag and they got pissy and decided to flee the crime scene. What started as a 2-group raid to kill a single elite mob was now a board-certified fuck fest, and there were about to be casualties. The startled Muppet was running away from us and behind walls, making any chance of receiving heals a pipe dream. He had 2 on him with 4 health when I randomly had a revelation.
Target dummies.
I pinned that shit like a tail on a donkey, watched the focus target of Angry Orc number 4 swap to it, and I'm proud to say, we all survived the epic shitfest of Stonewatch.
Oh my god.
Legend has it that other group who abandoned ship is still fleeing like vaginal cowards to this day.
Pussy!
At this point I had to head back to the laggy city because some shit was going down in the Stormwind basement and some arrogant douchebag needed help.
You probably won't make a difference.
Turns out the refugee Defias shitstains from the gang war I won in Westfall were captured and being held down there to serve as the presumptuous royal family slaves, and yes, I'm allowed to say that because they were all white. The orders were to slaughter these shitters, and aside from a slight disagreement on how fast or slow we should be doing it, as if my group was a married couple arguing in the bedroom, the mission was a great success.
I must say, after a half hour, I hardly expected you to come out.
I wanted to tell that one-eyed bastard that it was actually only 23 minutes, but after having successfully led 2 teams through group content, I had some words for someone else.
Do you actually think you'll be the better hunter? Oh, dude, I'm gonna smash. Yeah, don't worry about me. I just want to show you something, okay? This is what you're up against. We're talking about clearing MC.
Now for those of you non-WoW players, his response in the form of a flex was not only like repping a proud badge of unintentional celibacy, but it was also pretty much the equivalent of showing that he scored a 1600 on his SATs, and effectively no one in the world has done better. But what he didn't know was what he was up against.
It is a virgin move.
Rav is, what the fuck? This guy Rav is juiced.
That's right, a blushing hunter who may or may not have run out of arrows and had to resort to playing melee hunter for half the dungeon, to which I still top charts, bitch, so all I'm saying is it's going to be lonely at the top, for me. Meanwhile, my other guildies were throwing a raging house party in
Wait, was he there?
And Papa Soda was out of town, and considering the amount of drugs and sex that was taking place, some of the officers were not happy.
We are in OnlyFans, man. Take some pride in that.
And as a role model in this guild, I just want to say I don't condone this partying behavior, and I'm
Hey, he was
disappointed
there.
in anyone who was there instead of leveling. And seeing how our fearless leader knew I was grinding my short dwarf dick off instead of partying, he met me deep in the moist marshes and gave me a gift.
I have no idea what that is.
I didn't know how to thank him, and all I could think of was to show him that when he said,
Target dummies are required.
I listened. Now, since I know my audience isn't all WoW geeks, let me explain the reason why I was jizzing my pants over this item. For starters, it was purple quality, which outside of some rare super virginity scenarios is the best type of item you can get in the game, and second, it was a weapon. The combination of these two things meant that it would sell for over $1 to a local bow connoisseur, and I'd be 1% closer to getting my mount.
Farewell.
It was also around this time that I hit level 30. This meant I could meet up with a slender male elf sex doll in the middle of bumfuck Ashenvale to learn an ability called Feign Death. And the best way I can describe why this is valuable is that I can now tell a diabetic deformed penguin that his chick has a fatty and then be like, "Op, just kidding homie," and he won't want to beat me up anymore. If people want to ignore Howard and his contributions, I can now let them hit voicemail and say, "You will be dealing with my pig from now on." Anyways, I had one final piece of business in this fantasy land forest, and that was to finally help my homeboy cure his daughter/stripper lover of her AIDS. He claimed this was finally the medicinal fix to her whoring around.
Nice job, Brad.
I wasn't impressed, but I couldn't stay any longer, as I had to meet up with a few guildies for an organized coup against the civilized pigs in the Razor Fen Crawl. But as we were waiting, I was presented with a proposal. A duel to the death, guildie versus guildie. Loser will have to delete their character. These are strictly prohibited in the guild, as the one and only time this happened before, Dad's reaction went something like this.
You're both at fault. You are both at fault. I do not give a why?
He is a coward,
Oh god! Okay, I'm gonna go.
And after sinking over 50 hours of game time into this character, there was only one thing to do.
Oh, it's over. He connected. Oh, ooh.
Some may call it the start of a villain arc. Others may say it was heartless. But everyone will now respect Rav's wrath.
Bro, was that had to have been scripted?
Water.
Was it?
Earth.
It couldn't have been. It was Rav.
Earth. Fire. Fear. Long ago, gamers lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when video games became microtransaction-ridden sweaty overstimulation piss fests with toxic turbo-virgin players. Only Blizzard devs, creators of the best MMORPG in 2004 as well as many sexual harassment lawsuits, could bring joy back to gamers, and when the world needed them the most, they released another retail expansion. Close to 100 years passed and the WoW community discovered a new hardcore game mode where death equals delete and one mistake means months of your life wasted. Official servers were created and named after the most dangerous creatures in their universe. Defias Pillager, the proverbial firebenders of Westfall, Skull Rock, a cave that Alliance players use in arguments to prove that Horde players are the reason shampoo has to come with instructions. Nekrosh, a washed-up wetlands commander surrounded by an army of his simps. And Stitches, the most deadly patrol south
Wait,
of
there's
the
a server
Azeroth
actually named
equator.
Stitches? I didn't know that.
A weaponized diabetic jizz stain with a 0 to 60 on par with a modern-day Tesla whose favorite game is
I didn't know
Surprise
that.
You're a Dead Bitch. Together these creatures have made hardcore WoW a giant waste of time for countless kids. But only Rav, master of all 4 deadly things that dumb players die to, can stop them. Now the first element was a cakewalk to master. Defias pillagers get their reputation from being arsonistic asshats, and the average experience can be best summarized by a South Park clip that I quote at least once a week.
No! I don't want him to start over at the graveyard! No!
But unfortunately for Miss Sizzle Tits here, I've already killed her boss's boss when I was still a wee little lad, so her attempts were nothing more than laughable. Back to Elwyn for you, bitch.
Sweet.
Mastering Skull Rock was equally as uneventful as a YouTuber boxing match, as I was basically the LeBron James of dwarfs entering a Catholic grade school dribbling contest, to the point where none of these orcs from Mordor or their blue bitches even wanted to make eye contact with me on my way in. The main threat in here is a man whose name could be some Urban Dictionary slang for a blow job, and while yes, he's a big threat, the thing responsible for more deaths is actually the genie that he's let out of the bottle. I figured it'd be appropriate to let the pets play with each other. And then when he tried to pick a fight with a pig, I got pissed, thinking you wouldn't have the balls to attack a grown man like that, and he was going to pay the price. Obviously the age gap made mastering this element a bit easy. Nekrosh, the first EU realm, is appropriately where shit got messy. My initial scouting report showed that Commander Cuck Suck here definitely won the pop, where some pussy wanted to group up to take him down. I asked how many he has. He said he wanted to go with 4 little fear-mongering fuckboys, and when I asked if he thought I could solo, he promptly said negative Ghost Rider. It was only poetic that I then ran into their little raid group on my way to glory. I figured I would clear the backside and then spectate their attempt to see what I was dealing with when I accidentally did this.
Rewind. I don't think it went anywhere. He was here.
Appropriately where shit got messy. My initial scouting report showed that Commander Cuck Suck here definitely won the popularity contest in terms of how many butt buddies he had surrounding him. I pulled up a conversation as context into the deadliness of this man, where some pussy wanted to group up to take him down. I asked how many he has. He said he wanted to go with 4 little fear-mongering fuckboys, and when I asked if he thought I could solo, he promptly said negative Ghost Rider. It was only poetic that I then ran into their little raid group on my way to glory. I figured I would clear the backside and then spectate their attempt to see what I was dealing with when I accidentally did this.
Oh fuck, and their elites.
Clearly this touched a nerve not only with Nekrosh's book club but also with the pussy boys who did days of prep for this mission. They ended up securing a sloppy slaughter between the 16 of them, and it was at this point, almost 4 weeks into my World of Warcraft journey, that I ran into my first League of Legends player. Anyways, it was once again my turn to master the 3rd hardcore element, all while I was being called a huntard, and I will always be confused why people say hunters are an easy class. I nabbed me the Cabeza for my credit, and then because I'm petty I shared my triumph with the league player.
Nice.
And then there was Stitches. The hardest of the hardcore elements to master.
There's no one that solo Stitches. That guy's impossible to solo.
This weaponized Godzilla sperm cell has a body count
There's
that
no
can
way he
only be
does it.
rivaled by Logan Paul's fiancée. No sane human attempts to kill this, as the local town lives in constant fear of him getting the munchies, and most conversations with this jailbroken ball of jizz typically result in a target dummy angle where you just hope to have gotten enough distance by the time he starts chasing you again. After how easy mastering the first 3 hardcore bosses were, I went into this with confidence. But seeing as my first 10 shots barely tickled this angry ball of puss, and with Howard already having taken a bloody beating, I was forced to run away and reconsider if I had what it takes to be the hardcore avatar. I went full-blown Pimp My Ride Howard edition. My uncle started infusing my items with pheromones and all sorts of little bitch buffs, all for my rematch. A local pastor gave Howard the stamina he would need to be in the ring with that monster, and then there was just one last thing I needed. Given to me by Papa Soto himself, who at this time was learning that I was about to fulfill my destiny as the hardcore avatar.
Fucking Rav is gonna try and solo Stitches like an idiot for his YouTube channel.
And when he realized there was no talking me out of my decision, he took the next bald eagle straight to the local town to watch. But he knew he was not allowed to help he who's destined to do this alone.
I will let him die. Oh, feign death. Get him back on Howard. Howard's health is looking good.
I managed to keep Howard in good health, but we had bigger problems.
Oh, he's fucking
which meant it was doomed,
Oh,
and I
God.
couldn't face the reality that was in front of me.
Howard is gonna go down.
And even though I hated him for it,
Let Howard die. Howard served well, but you gotta play this yourself.
he was right.
No!
I was now alone and the target of this big fat baby Gravy's wrath, with no one but myself to fulfill
Wait,
my destiny.
90%, he
He's
can
got
do
a
it.
new pet. It's Watcher Jordan.
Execute phase was among us, and I knew it would be poetic to defeat him in the center of town to show all the shitty city boys that there's nothing to fear when I'm around, but it wasn't over yet.
Oh no. Stitches is coming.
If I couldn't finish him myself at this point, I knew no one else could.
Tamed another pet. You got the Goon Squad.
One last crit and I officially have mastered the hardcore elements all by myself, alone, with no help from outside factors. I claimed this diabetic snots femur to hold as a trophy on my right hip for the rest of my journey, as a sign of me being the avatar, but despite my victory, I was empty. All I could think about was the day I made that little hog my slave, and immediately made him kill his own brother. The breakups, the makeups, supporting each other towards their goals.
Okay, this is gonna take a while.
He died a goddamn hero for the noble cause of Rav mastering the elements. But I feared my journey would be over if it meant Howard would not be by my side. I was about to give up hope and go back to shitty League of Legends and leave all of this behind, as a distant memory, when an angel appeared.
Yo!
Together with Howard, Rav the Avatar was ready to save the world of Warcraft.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Attention gamers.
I didn't even know that's
Previously
possible.
on my journey to get a break from a game where I have to rely on teammates, I learned about group content in WoW and had to rely on teammates. I rocked the biggest damage wiener on the charts with some guildies, while others were challenging me in duels to the death, which may or may not have just been fancy editing over a normal duel that I won nonetheless. Papa Soda blessed me with the Sword of a Thousand Truths Bow Edition, and I used it to become Rav the Avatar, conquering all 4 of the deadliest hardcore elements by myself with no help, to prove that I am him and he shall one day save the world of Warcraft. Apparently word hadn't yet spread that I defeated the Demon of Duskwood, as players were still looking like they were about to shit themselves on the road, and despite me trying to calm their nerves, I knew the best way to show them that Rav the Avatar could conquer all would be to smurf on the remaining elite quests in the area. More Latim is the golden grave digging boner boy that has more people creating fresh level 1s in Elwyn than any time Asmongold starts a new character, but he clearly didn't know who he was up against, so I let Howard introduce himself and then I promptly one-shot the shitter.
Sweet.
Then some undead David Blaine was apparently spooking couples in the bedroom of this house, so I went up only to find out he was currently taking a meeting, so I figured I would let these scrubs build up their confidence by taking him down themselves before deciding that I deserve a little credit for at least being there. But this is where I realized that the lore behind some of these quests is beyond fucked up.
Place his own heart within the bosom of his dead spouse.
So just to summarize this random quest, a psychopath somehow removed his own heart and shoved it up the asshole of his dead wife, and now for some ungodly reason the people in town want it. I found the grave as Howard was like, bro, it smells like ass here, and I was like, well, according to the disturbing quest details means we are in the right place, so I tickled the dirt, hit a bit of parkour, and then killed that freaky fetish bride. The thought of digging through her dead colon to get her husband's heart was disgusting.
I didn't know that was
Howard
real.
sure wasn't going to do it, but I knew the townsmen would sleep better at night knowing I had.
You've done it.
Just to confirm, this praise wasn't because I slayed the jizz-stained final boss Stitches plaguing their town.
You have done a great thing for our people, adventurer.
It was because I dug a dude's heart out of his dead wife's anus.
Your name will remain in our annals forever.
Anyways, I ran into a little gnome whose name could describe my entire WoW documentary, but then I managed to get triggered by my first escort quest in the game.
Please help.
You see, this douche was clearly having a case of the Mondays. I figured the dude would be eternally grateful that I saved his ass from being eaten by a tribe of mutated apes and literal alligators, only for him to act like fucking Prince Harry being escorted into his daddy's coronation. I had some choice words for him, but the dude wanted no part in the mission to save his own life apparently, and while being toxic towards an NPC may have not been my proudest moment, I felt he needed a taste of his own medicine. It was at this point where whoever wrote my leveling guide must have decided to phone it in one day, since it was just like, hey yo, fuck it, I don't know, go kill some shit for an hour. And while the fastest levelers would have accepted this, thrown some hentai on the second monitor and then grinded it out with a half chub for the next hour, I chose a different route. You see, there's a chapel in the big city where a priest has been entirely too happy to see me since I was a little boy, but in the basement there's a dude dressed like a hibachi chef who is all like, bro, your guide wants you to waste 45 minutes of your life killing beasts? Nah, I'll save you from that boredom, just follow these steps. First, take a flight out of town down to that bay named after a literal ass. There I've arranged for you to take a transatlantic cruise. Don't make eye contact with the others on that boat, as it's known to have some weirdos. Once you're there, you will take another flight on the Kalimdor Airlines, but this is classic WoW, so there's no direct flights to where you're going, so you'll connect through a town that's not exactly on the way. There you'll meet my gay lover Anton, and he will tell you about our old book club called the Scarlet Crusade and how we left because of their obsession with bowling. He'll have you spend another 10 minutes walking through quite possibly the ugliest zone in all of Azeroth until you
That's
arrive
why you guys
for
were
your
gauging when I was up to
designated
him.
slaughter.
That makes sense.
He'll be like, there's one small catch, I need you to kill 30 of these in a zone where only 6 spawn at a time, so I hope you remember to twiddle your thumbs for a bit, but once you do serve that snooze fest, just run the 17 miles back up to me and enjoy the scenery that can best be described as if a microscope zoomed way into an infected sperm cell from a man ridden with AIDS. Make him happy and he'll be like, dope, now take another no direct flight back to that ratchet ass bay just in time to miss the next boat. When you arrive back to the boardwalk, you'll just have one more super short flight to your last stop. Stiff, jet-lagged, and having already wasted more than the hour you would have spent killing beasts, you'll get debriefed by a dude who is working on his cement driveway cosplay transmog set. He will tell you that the next part of this gigantic waste of time is to find a group of people, and that you'll probably need to spam the entire server looking for others, only to find a warrior who says he can't tank, with the plan to just not tell him that he's the tank, while thinking to yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Then you and your new group of butt buddies will need to spend another short 20 minutes walking through a dangerous zone, sneaking around the back of horde capital cities and parkouring in ways that not everyone can keep up with. And after close to 2 hours, you will arrive at the most corrupt book club in all of the Eastern Kingdoms. Now I quickly learned that this is actually 4 dungeons baked into one. The first featured torturers with suffering victims who were in desperate need of Rav the Avatar to be their hero, by killing everyone including them. Whoopsie! The Hunger Games Game Master was informing us to GTFO, so after we finished the first of 4 we decided to wait until 11 to start the second, Except everyone else decided to go in at 10:59 because reading clocks is apparently rocket science now, and this resulted in my getting stuck in a different lock out of the instance than all of them. Anyways, the butt buddies who left the book club said there were a few drama queens who needed killed, and the first was the pet lover in the group. He looked intimidating, but they told me the weird things he does with those hounds and a jar of peanut butter at night, so I wasn't concerned. Then there was Arcanist Douche Canoe, who is a tank and spank outside of when he casts detonate and you need to get out ASAP, and it turns out having RP walk toggled on isn't ideal, so I may or may not have fucked around and found out. Now, small detour from this gripping book club drama storyline, I should mention that I met a certified baddie in the Forge of Iron who said that rumor is this particular library has a copy of the Kama Sutra, and I quote,
Bring it to me, and perhaps together we can unlock the secret.
so obviously there was some incentive for me to find it while I was there.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
The third dungeon was basically 47 hallways of Scarlet Simps that all look the exact same, and after 30 minutes of it you face Herod, who has two phases. The first is a tank and spank, and the second is after he dies all the fraternity pledges come rushing in, showing how useless they are, and then we enter the final and most deadly of the 4 dungeons, the cathedral. This is where Howard started to feel the repercussions of me telling a warrior he didn't have to tank while actually relying on him to tank. And our group's rogue was about to learn a very real lesson to not joke about Howard's life. You see, we made it to the final church where all these devout simps were saying their prayers to the big dog in charge, all ready to run at anyone who challenges his authority of deciding what the next book everyone will be reading is. And while this coup against the crusade had been as smooth as a Riz Masters pickup lineup until this point, things were about to take a messy turn.
Infidels. They must be purified.
Tickling the captain's toes triggered the fire alarms,
my
and over 30
fucking
simps
God.
were now on their way.
Oh, fuck.
I looked back knowing that this would be the last time I ever saw our healer alive.
Target dummies?
The crusade demanded more casualties, and my tank, who didn't think he was my tank, was in line to be next. I prepped a last-ditch target dummy knowing it wouldn't.
Wait, he actually
but I wasn't
died!
the only Fangs member thinking on their feet, and Patty managed to spare his life. We paid our respects to our fallen comrade and vouched to avenge his death. The only issue was we now had no healer, a fake tank, and 2 people who didn't know this fight.
Oh, shit. I feel like they got this.
Arise, my champion.
I like how that guy basically died because Rab wanted to make a YouTube video. No, they did it.
I went back to cement-covered Sammy to tell him that that drama-filled book club is no more. So in summary, instead of grinding mobs for 45 minutes, I spent 7 hours traveling the world, engaging in petty high school drama, and getting another player killed, all to accomplish the same amount of progress on my journey to 60, and that, my friends, is what it's like to play World of Warcraft.
Yep. Wait, we're on episode 8? There's 8, 9, and 10. Oh, God.